Welcome back to Real Florida Magazine.
Welcome back. Here today on the campuses of beautiful Florida Panhandle Technical College, here in downtown Chipley today with Keith Forehand, here to talk about Kiwanis, more importantly, the foundation. This is a group, as you've certainly seen and viewed in the past, the Kiwanians being engaged with the children in their individual communities. And when I say that, 100% of the monies raised through Kiwanis fundraisers are used local to that chapter or that club. And that's pretty important if you love children, if you have children, if you're a grandparent, if children are any part of your life. This is one you're not going to want to miss, and we will be right back. Welcome back. As mentioned, our guest today is Keith Forehand with the Kiwanis Club. Keith, thanks for coming today. I don't believe you've been on the show before, have you?
No, Paul, I haven't. It's a pleasure to be here, though.
You and Todd Brister are going to be our guests at Kiwanis today at our luncheon. You know, before we get into talking, we have to brag a little bit. You know, there are lots of Kiwanis clubs, many within 30, 40-hour drive of where we are right now today. But we've got an unusual situation. We get to enjoy lunch here on the campuses of Florida Panhandle Technical College at Patillo's Restaurant, which is the culinary program of the college. We get to decide what we're going to eat. We don't have to put up with being at a steakhouse with 100 other people at lunch. Nothing wrong with that. But, you know, sometimes our Kiwanians gripe a little bit about this or that, and we point out to them and slap them in the face a little bit and say, man, you know, how many Kiwanis clubs would love the situation that we've got here? So, but thanks for being here. Let's talk a little bit about Kiwanis. We've got Todd Brister, who's incoming Lieutenant Governor, so we're going to talk a little bit more about the nuts and bolts. But before we start talking about foundation, talk a little bit in broad strokes about Kiwanis.
Well, Kiwanis is actually this year has celebrated our 100th anniversary, so it's been around quite a while. It's an organization that's made up of all volunteers and that are really dedicated to serving children around the world. We have some 8,000 clubs now in over 90 nations, and primary focus is on children, but not only children, but families, and improving their communities.
We, the Chipley Kiwanis Club has our annual upcoming dinner theater just around the corner at the end of September. We decided this year, we always do a program for that dinner theater, but we decided this year we're going to spend a little extra money and produce a printed piece, 8.5 by 11, full color glossy, that we are going to be able to distribute year-round in the community, not just as a program for the dinner theater, but this is going to be a piece that we can leave in waiting rooms and doctor's offices and hair salons and all sorts of places as a recruitment effort. Part of my effort with Kiwanis has been trying to knock heads in our club specifically and say, listen, look around. The average age in our club is getting on up there. We've lost a lot of members in the short time I've been a Kiwanian, 8 years or so, and we really need to recruit that new blood. Overall, what's the tenor of Kiwanis International, or at least this district, as far as their efforts in doing that? Is there an emphasis on that recruitment effort?
Of course, Paul. Members are the lifeblood of any organization, and without members you can't do anything in your own community, and that's one of the unique parts about Kiwanis. Even though it's an international organization, it's really made up of individual clubs in individual communities, and they decide what the needs are within their communities. And yes, International is, I think, out of my 30 some odd years that I've been in Kiwanis, has recognized the need for change. Sometimes an older organization gets stuck in their ways, so to speak, and International has done a good job in focusing a little bit more on the younger crowd. We have some internet-based clubs now, along with our traditional clubs like yours and mine that meet on a weekly basis and share a meal and have fellowship, along with doing our local projects. So, yeah, the emphasis is always on membership, because we lose members and we gain members, and it's important to the club. It's important to the community, because without those hands doing the work, it doesn't get done.
Yeah, and we'll talk, maybe visit with Todd a little bit about that specifically too. One thing that we're having a little bit of a problem with in the schools is that there are so many extracurricular activities, sports, more sports all the time, as well as other clubs, that the K kids and the Key clubs having a tough time with it these days. And is there any answer to that? I love the online piece that you mentioned, and we'll have to explore that. Maybe you can talk to our club a little bit about that today. But what's the answer to the recruitment of the younger kids? Because that's where it has to start.
That's a tough situation because we have a very large base from just our sponsored Key clubs. But once they get out of high school, they go to college and get into their own working life and family life. At some point in time, we have to draw them back into our Kiwanis clubs. Key Club is very active right now. It's one of the largest service leadership programs in the world, and especially in Florida, they far outnumber the actual Kiwanians as part of our Kiwanis family. So I don't know if there is a great answer to it. It is something that we're continually working on and trying to stay in contact with our Key clubbers once they get out of school.
Well, what we're really here to talk about today, Keith, is foundation. Every time a business turns around, somebody's asking for a donation. People are asking for money, which makes all of the fraternal organizations have to become creative, be able to explain succinctly to a business or a potential sponsor or donor how the partnership will work for them as well as for the petitioner, in this case, of those funds. And foundation, Kiwanis Foundation, is pretty exciting to me, where somebody can bequeath, can leave money if they are particularly inured with Kiwanis. At the end of the day, lots of opportunities, but let you explain what Kiwanis Foundation is all about.
The Kiwanis organization really has two foundations, one on an international level, which focuses more on international-wide issues such as hurricane relief and tsunami relief, and this past 5 years they've had a worldwide service project but actually eliminating maternal and neonatal tetanus from around the world. And of course it all takes money, but where I represent the Florida Foundation, our focus is solely on the Florida district of Kiwanis. And I say district, it's not just the state, because we encompass some of the islands, the Grand Cayman Islands and Turks and Caicos, and some of those Caribbean islands that are actually fall within our purview. But our major focus as a foundation is to be a fundraising entity, but not only that, we give people the opportunity to do more with what they have. And I say that because we all have certain time and talents and money that we can do as individuals, but when we join together, we can certainly do a whole lot more. And by combining all those resources, and that's what the foundation is here for. It's really I guess not a go-between, but that type opportunity for people to give into, not only financial but with their service. And our focus in the Florida Foundation is strictly in the Florida district through aiding Kiwanis clubs with club grants, with larger projects that they can do in their own community, through scholarships from our Key clubs, as we mentioned before, through some disaster relief right here in Florida. But our true focus is on children and trying to enable our communities to do what they can and to do more within their area to help children and families. The statistics are there that we have a lot of poverty, especially in our area, and a lot of unfortunate people, from the homeless to right on up to our service leadership programs and our Key clubs that are our future leaders. So we try to incorporate all those in what we do.
One aspect of the foundation that got our attention is that we found ourselves with some surplus in our administration account, and did a little searching and realized that we could get a matching grant from the foundation. In our case, we're interested in putting an accessible portion of an existing playground here in town. So from a club perspective, lots of opportunities within that foundation. From the donor, from the sponsor, from the business or the individual who wants to become involved in that, how can they give to foundation in its basic form?
Well, the Florida Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit tax-exempt organization, just like so many other charities that are out there. Of course, we've talked about our focus, and in order to give into the foundation, of course, Kiwanis clubs can give a variety of ways through awards and presentations. We have all kinds of plaques and things that you can purchase that all the money goes toward our activities. A corporate or an individual can give just as a tax-exempt write-off, especially coming up toward the end of the year when we're thinking about taxes and things like that. Corporate gifts, endowments, and things like that, you could have a scholarship named after yourself if you so desired. But there's just a lot of ways. It's basically getting in contact with either your Kiwanis club or a person like myself that represents the foundation, and we can direct those funds where you intend them to go. One of the biggest, I guess, challenges that we might have sometimes is the endowments. It's not hard to get someone to give the cost of a meal, $25 or something on a yearly basis, but with having our name out there and really showing what we do with the funds, that we would like to, I guess, get in touch with those folks, those financial planners and those attorneys and all that advise corporations and individuals alike as to where to bequeath their money if they feel the need to do that. There are a lot of things, a lot of children going hungry within the state of Florida that we could help. But get in touch with myself, our foundation. We have a district office in Sanford, Florida, which is also our Kiwanis district, their office too. So we can help you with that. But the main thing is to keep Kiwanis in mind. We all tend to postpone things like wills and insurance policies and all those things to later in our life, but it really costs you nothing in the beginning to bequeath something and really leave your legacy that will last forever.